Welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching Business Morning on Channels Television. And for today, we're looking at non-oil export as a remedy to the dwindling oil price. And I have here with me a non-oil export consultant, Mr. Obiora Madu. Good morning, Mr. Madu. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you so much.
Well, we've seen the oil price go down and still going down, even though this morning we saw a little notch. But that's, I mean, we can't just say, oh, it's getting better, because there's still that feeling that it's still going to go down further. And for many, non-oil exports seem to be the way forward. How would you describe the present state of non-oil exports in Nigeria?
Thank you very much. I think we are exporting. But you know, the absence of disease is not an evidence of good health. The fact that we are exporting, when you check the figure vis-a-vis its contribution to the GDP and the rest of the indices.
Yeah, as of 2013, the non-oil exports reached about $2.97 billion.
Yeah, that's what percentage of the GDP was it? Well, the point is that we are not doing badly, particularly with the flurry of activities in the agricultural sector right now.
Yeah.
But the value addition aspect is still a major issue. Because when you export raw produce, you get peanuts. Those who process it get the leather chunk. I think that, in fact, I'm one of those who pray that the oil price keeps going down. If only we'll achieve one thing, to get us to start thinking. Because we have these resources. If you go back to independence, agriculture, foreign exchange, it was about 93%. So how did we get here? It's very simple. It's oil that cost it. Now oil is probably going to drive us back to where we should be, because the resources are there. There's hardly any local government in Nigeria that doesn't have an export commodity. So I think we are exporting. Like yesterday, Export Promotion Council said in 2013, there were 11 new products that were not being exported before. That tells you what is possible. I don't know what quantity, but
basically what we do is just export the raw materials.
That's it.
Now, okay, you're saying we have to produce. For instance, we have cocoa that we export.
Yeah.
Now, do we really have that capacity to begin to make some of these products you can get from cocoa and all of that, to be able to export them?
That's the challenge. One of the biggest challenge in the export sector is logistics. Logistics infrastructure is practically not there. So as a result of that, you have issues. For example, it's okay that the power issues are being tackled, but I know that it will take a while for it to achieve the stability that we need. In 2003 or so, we're doing impact assessment of export expansion grant, and spoke to the MD of Michelin then, and his main issue was diesel costs. And he said, this is how much I'm spending on a monthly basis, and that if it goes this way, if nothing is done, then the end was in sight. That's what he said.
So even with the
2 years later,
with the grant, he's unable to do anything to achieve much.
So I'm not. We have the. What does it take? It's not rocket science. Equipment. In 1990, there was this ADB export stimulation loan, which was guaranteed by government, and the whole idea was to process export. If you're coming around Shagamu, you see one of the factories by your right. That was meant for cocoa and shea butter. That factory is not functioning. And sadly, also, there were about 40 other factories funded under ADB export stimulation loan. As we speak, not a single one is functioning. So I really don't know where to place, even though I knew that one of the challenges they had was that they gave them money at a lower rate. Of course, as the Naira went bonkers, they were required to pay at a much higher rate. So all that and so many other things affected. So I think we need more than what we are doing now. We need to create new initiatives. I don't
But
mean
for
expand.
the export expansion grant,
Yes.
would you say that it has really achieved?
Not
much?
completely, not completely, because my opinion is that, first of all, by WTO rules, you don't give cash incentives. So they get a negotiable duty certificate. But when they get to the port, the custom will discriminate against those documents. As I speak to you, a lot of people are holding certificates that were issued in the last 2 years, which they are yet to utilize. So, and also, I think there's need to check that very particular, because some portion of it also seem to be working against SMEs. So I think we need to take a total look at it. I was talking about initiatives. Maybe we should create something else, because if we continue doing the same things we are doing.
When you say something else,
yeah.
I mean, you've been in this
let me give you an example.
sector.
Yeah.
What's your suggestion? What kind of initiative do you think government should actually come up with?
Let me give you an example. Americans were crying that all the jobs have gone to Asia. And it was a big task for Obama just before his re-election. He created what he called Obama Export Initiatives. Very powerful committee, which he headed. And a few months to the election, he had repatriated 100,000 jobs. What I'm saying is that if you have such an initiative, let's say that right now that we have, we want to call it a Good Luck Export Initiative.
Okay.
And then staff it properly, put the right people there, then you can try some Hong Kong, because the situation that we are in now is an emergency. If care is not taken, if the oil price continues to go the way it's going, very soon, already we are talking about austerity, it hasn't even started. So, look, we do not have control over this. And that's what we need to realize. Now, we go back to what we have control over.
Now, even with those initiatives, perhaps if government decide to come up with some of the initiatives you're trying to suggest, but when we have not really gotten the infrastructural base, right, how are we going to achieve it? Are we not going to still keep going round and round?
What I'm suggesting is that you create initiatives that will stop us from going round and round. Look, right now we have some export processing zones in Nigeria, some oil and gas, some non-oil export, like Calabar. If you go to Calabar Export Processing Zone and how much processing is going on there. I know a lady who was making shirts in that very particular, she left it a long time ago, and so many other people also. Why are we in that situation? Because the essence of an EPZ is that's why it's located close to the sea. Most of what is being produced are expected to be heading towards seabound for export. But the fact is that why has it worked everywhere else?
And it's not working
And it's not
here.
working here. Look at how much money that was invested in Tinapa. It's supposed to be a tourist point. It's supposed to be it's an EPZ. What has happened? Have we put it to use and the rest of it? So it's not about going round and round. I'm talking about initiatives that will get out of the box where we currently find ourselves, where we currently put ourselves actually, and then do something totally different. And I'm sure we can get the result, because some of the things that need to be done, for example, is that infrastructure is the business of government. The rails, they are coming up. Aviation is there. The land issue, the roads are much better than they were. Where is the integration of these modes of transportation? Do you know the amount of fruits and vegetables that perish? Are we exporting them? Do we have potential to export? Yes. Why are we not exporting them? One of the reasons is that you do not even have conditioning centers in the airport, in the international airport, from where the thing is supposed to go. Go to Kotoko, that small, tiny international airport in Ghana. There's a conditioning center there. So what is the rocket science in doing some of these things?
And what about our strategic reserves?
Strategic reserve? For us to be thinking of going there this early, it means that there's trouble. It means that there's trouble. So I am surprised that we rushed to start talking about austerity. We are not talking about what do we need to do on the other side of it. So that's why I'm really very, very surprised, because right now, the way it is, we should be rolling out initiatives, or actually, let me even leave these initiatives. The people who are currently assigned with some of those responsibilities, are they being measured? Look, the world has gone, even government worldwide has gone lean. They have adopted almost practically everything that businesses are doing. If you can't measure anything, you cannot improve on it. So I'm at sea as to why we are the way we are with all the resources that we have.
All right. You mentioned infrastructure as a major challenge, and of course you talked about the fact that basically what Nigeria exports more is the raw materials, and that we have to produce so we can export. Now there's an issue of standardization, this poor standardization, and of course poor packaging. How do we begin to deal with that?
Well, I think it is an issue. But I think on that very particular aspect, I think Export Promotion Council has addressed it. There was also this project of USAID, they call it NIP, Nigeria Expanded Export Product. I know that they even got consultants from the US to attend to people's label, packaging, all of them free of charge. So there is really some bit of improvement.
Can our products actually compete with those international?
Of course they can. Of course they can. You see, the quality of our produce is not the issue at all. In terms of cocoa, we have one of the best flavors. In terms of ginger, I think only Nigerian ginger has a specialty oil called olorosine. So that is how it is. Chili pepper and the rest of it. So what I'm saying is that we need to, even the packaging thing. Okay, we have an organization called Cobalt. Cobalt is do the final inspection and export. Government use Cobalt to check the export of substandard and poor quality products, which is affecting the image of the country. So Cobalt is there, and I think to a very large extent. But another issue is that even those who are exporting need to understand the process and do things, because it's not every time we say government, government, government. There's a lady who exported a container of yam to US. Of course, by the time they got there, you just thought the yam and your hand enters inside, and that was it. The whole container was gone. Somebody exported dried fish. They broke one, maggot appeared. The whole container will have to go ablaze. So, let's look at AGOA. What have we done?
Yeah, and how much Nigeria benefited from AGOA since they signed on to this? That was in 2000?
Yes, another extension is being made. Maybe when that ends, we'll ask for another extension, especially for ourselves.
So what
other countries are
what have we benefited?
You know, we have to be strategic. Even in the ECOWAS market, we are not even strategic on how to take advantage of it. There's huge potential. You know, part of the challenge of trade in Africa is that we don't even trade among ourselves. Intra-African trade is recorded at about 10%, even though we know that there's so much unrecorded trade going on in Africa. But if you look at other places, I think the next is 26%. In some cases, it's 50, 70. So, you know, that means you are dealing with your neighbors.
So, but there's a lot of barriers.
That is the problem. That is the problem. In those places where it works, it means that the barriers have been removed. So, AGOA was and is still a huge incentive
for Nigeria to tap into.
For sub-Saharan Africa, and there are countries, Ghana, Mauritius, Kenya, and the rest of them have benefited immensely from it. If you check the figures on the AGOA website, the figure you find against Nigeria will be pretty huge, but the bulk of it is oil. AGOA was not made for oil export. It was meant to encourage non-oil export. So, what have we done? We have an AGOA resource center in Nigeria. I want somebody to go and find out what have they done. How many people have successfully exported to America as a result of that resource center. We have desk officers, we have this, we have that, but I think the challenge is that we never stop to check to find out where we are so that we can determine where we're going. So when I'm asked, I was talking about initiatives. That's the kind of thing I'm talking about. For example, during Obasanjo time, I know you asked me how far did we go, but he had a special advisor on AGOA, who later became the CEO of Export Promotion Council. So, but what I'm saying is that we really need to get out of the box. It is possible for non-oil exports to bridge the gap that we're experiencing and even surpass it. But the point is that we must do things differently. We cannot do it the same way and expect a different result.
All right, Mr. Madu, just hold your thoughts there. We'll take a quick break. When we return, we will continue with that conversation. To stay with us.